So while you were away, I did make some changes to my verdigris, including going straight from the multiply node into the bump 2D, which I think is working a little better. So I'm going to get rid of that ramp. And now we're going to move straight on to the next step. Let me clean this up. The next step is combining the rust node with the copper node so that I can put them together and have them apply to the lanterns. And for that, I'm going to use an AI mix shader. The AI mix shader's entire function is combining other shaders. So when I look at it, it's got three inputs. It's got one for mixing, one for shader 1, and one for shader 2. So I am going to select this node. I can see it in my property editor. And now I just have to middle mouse drag the copper and the rust into the two different shading slots. I currently have rust as shader 1 and copper as shader 2. I may change my mind and reverse that later on, but just by doing that I should be able to at least start to see a mix of the two materials, even if not much. No, I'm just seeing shader 1. That's actually perfectly normal because right now the mix mode is set to blend and it is set to a 50% blend. Oh, and it really helps if I assign the mix shader to my lanterns. That's one of those things that it's better to learn at this point in the lesson than 5 minutes later. So at this point I should start to see a blend between the rust and the copper. But the mix node is set to do a 50% blend, so it's just doing transparency between them, which really isn't what we want. If I go back to my image, you'll remember that rust happens mostly at the edges and then a little bit on the body as it grows. So what I want to set up is I want to set up a condition where the rust is happening at the edges. And for that, I can use a node called an AI Curvature Node. The AI Curvature node is pretty simple. I'm going to connect its out color R to the mix of the AI mix shader. And now if I look at the sample here, you can see I'm getting a little bit of copper around the edges and green on the body. Let's hit the render button and see what the render window gives us. In the render window, yep, I'm getting a little bit of copper at the edges and green on the body. That's fine. I can hit escape to kill this render early. And now in the AI curvature window, I can turn this radius up. Let's turn it up to maybe a 0.4. And we'll just do a little... Oh, you're going to do the whole screen. Fine, you do the whole screen. That should give us a little more copper on the lanterns and a little less verdigris. That's probably too much. I'm probably doing too much with that 0.4. So the radius controls how much you see of each one. Now the order of what's going on the edges and what's on the body is set by the order in the mix shader. So I think that before I adjust any further, I need to take my mix node and plug the copper into shader 1 and the rust into shader 2. And now if I hit this box button, I should see the opposite, where I've got rust on the edges and copper in the center. Yes, that is much better. Let's just make a bigger box. I just want to see these lanterns. Let's see what they're all doing. So it's starting to look a little bit better. Definitely this curvature thing has to be turned down a little bit. Let's do like a 0.25 on that. And then hit the render button again. So this is good. I'm starting to get a pretty good mix. It's a little light in some places, but that's okay. Because in addition to just being on the edges, I also really want this to kind of take over and grow a little bit. So I'll pause this video here. We talked about the mix shader, the mix node, and the AI curvature node. So go ahead and mess around with that a little bit. You'll see you can also adjust things like convex or concave, how much spread you're getting, the different thresholds. So go ahead, mess around with this stuff and find a balance that you think you like. When you come back, in addition to just adjusting the curvature, we will also add some noise to the curvature so that it's not just coming in on the edges, but there are also other splotches. So come on back for that, and in the meanwhile, have fun with the curvature.